अस्सलाम वालेकुम ख़वातीन और हज़रात, उम्मीद है कि आप सब सही होंगे। आज है पीर का दिन 26 जून 2023 और आज हम बात करेंगे जो यूक्रेन और रशिया में डेवलपमेंट्स हुई हैं पिछले कुछ चंद दिनों के अंदर। वहाँ पे एक अटेम्प्टेड कू हुई रशिया के अंदर। इसके ऊपर हमने बात भी की वीकेंड के ऊपर आपसे कि किस तरीके से 36 घंटे में चीज़ शुरू हुई और फिर ख़त्म हो गई। और जिस तरह मैंने आपसे कहा था कि आज हम बात करेंगे एक सहाफ़ी से फ्रॉम यूक्रेन, रशियन स्पीकिंग सहाफ़ी एलिज़ाबेथ स्ट्री उनका नाम है और वो हमें ज्वाइन कर रही हैं। Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us on Let Ali Show You. Let's get straight to it. What happened over the weekend in Russia, in Rostov, with this whole Prigozhin coup attempt drama? What was it really? Can you tell us?
Saturday morning, Yevgeny Prighozin, is the founder of Wagner Group, announced that he had taken control of military facilities in Rostov-on-Don and decided to reach Moscow. He accused the military leadership of the Russian Federation, including Defense Minister Shoigu and the head of the General Staff Gerasimov, of genocide of the Russian people and the failure of Russia's military campaign in Ukraine, and he announced a march of justice. During the mutiny, Wagner fighters shot down at least 2 combat helicopters and 1 aircraft of the Ministry of Defense. Other Telegram channels, for example, Rybar, that is close to Ministry of Defense of Russia, it claims that more than 20 pilots who were on board the downed planes and helicopters, they were killed. According to the other channel, it's about 7 helicopters and planes. So the propaganda media Redovka writes about 15 dead, including 8 people on the board. Closer to the night of June 24, Wagner and the Russian authorities, there was a mediation of Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, reached agreements, and the march of mercenaries towards Moscow was suddenly stopped. And it really surprised me a lot the second time. And the Kremlin said that President Vladimir Putin gave his word that Prigozhin will be allowed to quit the country for Belarus, and he will not be prosecuted for attempting an armed insurrection. But many analysts say it's unclear if Prigozhin will be left in peace in Belarus or elsewhere. And today, a source in General Prosecutor's Office told Russian reporter that the criminal case against Prigozhin hadn't been dropped yet. So let's see what will happen next.
So he still might be prosecuted even if he is in Belarus.
We don't know. So it was just word by Putin that he will not do that, but nobody knows for now.
Tell us about how something like this happens. You've got Vladimir Putin, who's this very, at least visibly, very powerful, strong president. You've got the defense ministry with people like Shoigu as a defense minister and other people. And then you've got Wagner, that is this non-military or non-official group that works at the behest of Russia, but in a private capacity. How does this happen?
It's interesting about consequences for Russia's top commanders, how they allowed to enter to all these things happening. But I thought my thoughts were that probably Shoigu will be fired or Gerasimov will be fired. But it's not happening. And, the modalities of the deal between the Kremlin and Prigozhin, who wanted Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Gerasimov dismissed, remain really unclear now. In an apparent sign that Shoigu will keep his post for now, state television on Monday broadcast footage of the defense minister inspecting Russian troops. So it was today in his first public appearance since the aborted mutiny. The insurrection made Shoigu and Gerasimov look weak.
Let's focus our attention to the Ukrainian side and what's been happening with the Ukrainian counteroffensive. We had the President Zelensky come out and make some statements. Now, this is what he said to BBC last week. Whatever some might want, including attempts to pressure us, with all due respect, we will advance on the battlefield the way we deem best. tell us a little bit about what's going on in Zelensky's mind and this Ukrainian counteroffensive.
Ukrainian forces today have recaptured another formerly Russian-held settlement. It's on the southern front. It's Rivnopil. This is the ninth village Ukraine claims to have retaken since the start of counteroffensive. But this month, Ukraine really launched a counteroffensive, and this is now the third week of counteroffensive. And if we will think about what President Volodymyr Zelensky told, it's really true that probably counteroffensive is going not so fast as he wanted. But Ukraine, I can't predict how the counteroffensive will go further because it's unclear what is happening as of now. But really, if we compare the counteroffensive in Kharkiv last autumn and now, the success is more modest now, and because then the Russian front crumbled literally in the first days of counteroffensive, and for now we see the counteroffensive actions. It's already third week, and we have only 9 villages retaken, and we can see only some tactical successes north of Tokmak, in the western part of the Donetsk region, near the borders of the Zaporizhia region, and in the area of the city of Vasilivka, Zaporizhia region. And this is such tactical achievements, but this is happening really slowly, probably because the Russian Federation built a large numbers of fortifications and trenches in a few months, starting last fall. They were preparing for the offensive in the south, and as I know from experts, the Ukrainian army is now attacking the prepared defense areas, and not having the advantage in the air, the counterattack is going quite slowly. So the Ukrainian army is literally crunching now the defense line, looking for weak spots and trying to retake it. And also destroys logistic chains.
Last week, the Pentagon came out and said that there was an accounting error by which they had an additional $6.2 billion left over, because basically they were allocated, let's say, $40 billion. They ended up spending only 33-point-something billion since the war started. So they had it left over because they gave equipment from their own inventory to the Ukrainians without basically spending the money that was allocated by Congress. Do we even know how much money has come into Ukraine since the war started? And if we don't, how has this affected corruption in the country, which was already quite corrupt before the war started, allegedly?
Now I see this as a big problem in Ukraine, because now, due to the war, everything is closed. You can't see database. You can't see where the money and how are they spending them. So, yeah, everything is secret now. Ukraine's allies had pledged 156 billion euros to Ukraine, according to the German-based Kiel Institute for the World Economy. The United States is by far the biggest donor with 71.3 billion euros, followed by European Union institutions. It's 35.5 billion. The United Kingdom, 9.7 billion. Germany, 7.3 billion, and Japan is 6.2 billion. Do you remember Victoria Spartz? It's violent controversy broke out in Ukraine social networks. She is a member of U.S. Congress, and she made a statement on July 6, 2022, in which she criticized the policies of Presidents Joe Biden and Volodymyr Zelensky. And she proposed to the U.S. Congress to establish proper control over critical infrastructure and deliver weapons and assistance to Ukraine. Officials in Ukraine after that told that Ukraine provides Western partners with comprehensive information of the use of their military equipment, and by their actions, U.S. congressmen's parts could play into the hands of the Kremlin. So it's all what we know, but society can't check this at all because it's the war now in the country.
We saw some news, some reports, some social media videos of Ukrainian soldiers using Pakistani artillery shells. What is Pakistan's involvement, if any, in the war in Ukraine?
Pakistani ammunition was apparently used in the Russian-Ukrainian war. There are even videos where we can see that, but it's impossible to confirm or deny this information because it's nobody said this officially. I think that Pakistan has a neutral, friendly position towards Ukraine. It can't be compared in any way with the openly hostile positions of Iran, which sends combat kamikaze drones to Russia. So Pakistan really has a neutral, friendly position. It's impossible to estimate the amount of Pakistani aid to Ukraine as there are no official statements. Well, but we know that regarding Pakistan's cooperation with Ukraine, at one time there was a large tank contract. Pakistan bought several hundred T-80 tanks from Ukraine.
Engines, yeah.
Thus, there is a certain background of military technical cooperation. In addition, before the war, there was a connection between Ukraine and Pakistan in terms of the exchange of missile technologies. There was also some information that in 2021, Pakistan wanted to purchase an anti-tank missile system of the Kiev-designed bureau Luch. Thus, there is a basis for further cooperation. So let's see what will be in future. But for now, it seems that Iran supports Russia in Pakistan, probably in some kind supports Ukraine, even unofficially. But we see that.
I think you pose a very, very interesting question at the end of our conversation. Who does Pakistan support? We know where Iran stands. I guess a lot of people would say Pakistan supports whomever the US wants it to support at this stage. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Stree, for joining us and shedding light on this important issue, the war in Ukraine. जिस तरह एलिजाबेथ जिक्र कर रही थी, यूक्रेन को तकरीबन 100 अरब यूरो से ज़्यादा एड मिल चुकी है, प्लेज हो चुकी है, और पाकिस्तान यहाँ पे स्ट्रगल कर रहा है चंद बिलियन डॉलर लेने के लिए IMF से. सो इट गोज टू शो कि दुनिया की प्रायोरिटीज़ इस वक्त किधर हैं, पाकिस्तान उन प्रायोरिटी से कहाँ खड़ा होता है. मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली यूक्रेन और रशिया इस पूरी प्रोसेस के अंदर किधर हैं. और एलिजाबेथ की बातों से जिस तरह लग रहा था, ये लग नहीं रहा कि ये जंग किसी वक्त जल्दी ख़त्म हो जाएगी. इसी के साथ हम अपना ये प्रोग्राम ख़त्म करते हैं. अपने कमेंट्स और सजेशंस प्लीज़ भेजते रहें यूट्यूब के ऊपर, ट्विटर के ऊपर. आप जानते हैं ट्विटर के ऊपर लिखा हुआ है बेसिकली, यहाँ पे यूट्यूब के ऊपर तो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है सामने आपके लेट अली शो यू, और ट्विटर के ऊपर मैं हूँ @Ali_Mustafa पे. एलिजाबेथ स्ट्री का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने प्रोग्राम देखा. अपना ख्याल रखिएगा.